Escaped private enterprises unite to rise up and denounce the CCP. 10 Marxist experts died of illness in succession, most are CCP members. Tiananmen area property prices plummet by 40%, shocking Beijing residents. China planted mystery devices on cranes used in U.S. ports, could seize control remotely. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Escaped private enterprises unite to rise up and denounce the CCP. Amid the CCP's 2 sessions, China's economic challenges once again captured the world's attention. China has seen a troubling number of instances where mainland private business owners were targeted, with many watching their life's work and wealth vanish overnight, dragging their families down with them into legal nightmares. In response, a group of these entrepreneurs, now living in Canada, launched an organization dedicated to fighting for their rights this March. They've called it the Alliance for the Protection of Rights of Chinese Private Entrepreneurs, to denounce the CCP. Capitalists finally dare to rebel. Speaking at NTD's Elite Forum, Li Jun, an independent TV producer, said, "Initially, this group's goal is to unveil the CCP's harsh treatment of private entrepreneurs, a reality obscured from many in China. By sharing their experiences, they aim to highlight the extent of persecution endured. They plan to challenge the CCP in international courts, seeking legal means to hold the party responsible. Additionally, they're dedicated to aiding entrepreneurs still under duress in China, offering escape assistance or support for their families." During their talks with the press, they stressed how crucial private enterprise has been to China's economic success over the last 4 decades. 2 revelations stood out. 1. They initially believed the persecution was just a matter of bad officials, thinking a change in personnel could fix things. However, after fleeing China and diving into the CCP's history, they've come to understand the problem is much deeper, it's systemic, rooted in the Communist Party's nature, and won't change with different faces in power. The second realization was even more fundamental: the Communist Party inherently rejects capitalism and private enterprise. The regime has merely exploited these sectors to navigate economic challenges, planning to phase them out once state-owned enterprises are sufficiently robust. Now, seeing the situation for what it is, they're warning other private business owners in China not to be fooled by the CCP any longer. China fails to transform politically, rendering all private capital as venture capital. Hu Liren, a former entrepreneur from Shanghai now living in the U.S., highlighted on the Elite Forum that the suppression of Chinese private entrepreneurs primarily stems from political roots. He noted that in 1955 and 1956, the CCP's public-private partnership efforts were actually aimed at decimating private enterprise in China, culminating in the Cultural Revolution, a period marked not only by internal CCP power struggles but also by extensive looting of capitalist families, especially in former private capital strongholds like Shanghai. Hu, having experienced this firsthand, observed the complete devastation of capitalist families, including asset seizures, financial ruin, and even deaths. Following the Cultural Revolution, a widespread fear of the CCP took hold. In Deng Xiaoping's time, the CCP, fearing mass starvation, sought to stabilize its rule and boost the economy by nurturing private capital, leading to a significant rise in private capitalists. Hu emphasized the innate cleverness of the Chinese people and the cultural reverence for commerce, contributing to China's rapid economic advancement within a few decades, a feat unmatched globally. This success, however, made the CCP afraid. Xi Jinping's emergence was deemed necessary to maintain the party's grip on power as the expanding private economy increasingly threatened its political stance, given the unchanged authoritarian nature of its politics. Hu has been advocating since the 2000s, especially to his university students in China, that investing in the country's private sector is akin to venture capital, inherently risky, a realization not widely acknowledged 2 decades ago. This absence of risk perception, notably among entrepreneurs in provinces like Jiangsu and Zhejiang who had not faced harsh repression, originates from a fundamental misunderstanding of the CCP's authoritarian nature. They observed only the cosmetic enhancements within the country, oblivious to the latent risks of their investments, stemming from an unaltered political system. The CCP's hostility toward private wealth, frame up and robbing as governance strategies. Ms. Guijun, the editor-in-chief of the Epoch Times Chinese edition, spoke on the Elite Forum program about the dire situation Chinese private entrepreneurs find themselves in, highlighting two main reasons. First, the Communist Party's ideological crusade against private capital and its owners has intensified with the rise of the party's left wing, which aims to eliminate capitalism in favor of a socialist, state-controlled economy. This hostility flares up particularly after economic recoveries, echoing the farmer and the snake fable where temporary tolerance quickly turns to intolerance. Secondly, the economic reforms that once spurred growth through the private sector have inadvertently shifted societal power towards wealth and capital. Despite the Communist Party's grip on violence, wealth, and knowledge, the burgeoning private capital has started to erode this monopoly. This redistribution of power has brought private figures like Jack Ma to prominence, whose fall from grace after criticizing state bank signals a changing power dynamic. The value of knowledge, too, hinges on its economic utility. Similarly, as we analyzed in the video Nationalizing Private Sector, Can She Secure His Legacy? Ms. Guijun concludes that the crackdown on private capital stems from the CCP's deep-seated fear of losing its authoritarian control. A strong and influential private sector poses a threat to the party's rigid power structure, prompting aggressive measures to suppress any potential challenge from the private economy. Ms. Guijun points out that China's most profitable sector has become the anti-corruption industry, a realm where legal mechanisms are exploited for financial gain. She shares a personal account of a friend whose assets were seized and sold at auction for a fraction of their worth by the very officials who arrested him, underscoring a broader pattern of legalized plunder. This system not only enriches those in power but also ensnares entrepreneurs in a cycle of extortion. When an official is targeted for corruption, the businesspeople associated with them are often compelled to pay hefty sums under the guise of legal fines or bribes to secure their freedom or mitigate legal consequences. This practice, masquerading as legal enforcement, has entrenched a culture of fear among entrepreneurs, who find themselves vulnerable to financial exploitation by the state's apparatus. A particularly egregious example involved a Hunan entrepreneur who was pressured to admit to bribing a disgraced official, a charge he initially denied. After enduring a year's detention, he conceded and paid 30 million yuan, about $4.2 million to secure his release, despite no evidence of bribery. This tactic, Guijun argues, has become a systematic method for local governments to boost their revenues, exploiting legal and political upheavals to target the business community. This approach echoes the notorious strategy of Bo Xilai, marking a disturbing trend where local government revenue has declined and there is no money, leading to aggressive revenue-generating schemes at the expense of private entrepreneurs, instilling widespread panic and uncertainty in the business sector. 10 Marxist experts died of illness in succession, most are CCP members. Amid the coronavirus epidemic is getting severe, the Epoch Times, using piecemeal information released by the CCP authorities, has assembled records on the deaths of CCP officials from diverse sectors including the party apparatus, government, military, law enforcement, scientific community, academia, and the arts. The investigation revealed that the majority were CCP affiliates who devoted their lives to upholding the party's rule, endorsing its ideological framework, and beautifying its despotic governance. Authorities often vaguely attributed their deaths to ineffective medical treatment, without detailing the illnesses involved. Many of these individuals are distinguished leaders in various fields, yet, regrettably, their skills, hard work, and commitment have been misplaced. The outbreak is targeting the Communist Party, signaling the imminent collapse of the communist regime. Everyone who backs the Communist Party will ultimately serve as sacrificial offerings to it. The adage, "A wise man does not stand beneath a crumbling wall," underscores that quitting CCP's party, youth league, and related groups is the prudent course for self-preservation. Remarkably, within just the first 2 months of 2024, at least 10 Marxist theorists and professors across China succumbed to illnesses, with a minimum of 8 being CCP members. Among the deceased are luminaries such as Jean Huiming, a notable Marxist theorist and former head of the Theory Bureau under the CCP's Central Propaganda Department, Su Chengwen, a scholar of Marxist philosophy, Cui Guotian, who led the Institute for Contemporary Socialism at Shandong University, and 5 other professors from Marxist faculties at various institutions across China. Karl Marx made a pact with Satan. As per a series of articles featured on the Epoch Times website, derived from Richard Wurmbrand's book Marx and Satan, now translated as The Path to Karl Marx's Demonization, Marx, formerly admired by Marxists, was initially a Christian who held beliefs in both God and spirits. Nevertheless, upon entering university at the age of 18, he aligned himself with the Satan Church under the leadership of Joanna Southcott and became a devotee. Marx employed the deceitful tactics of Satan, lies and deception, to fabricate the communist theory, leading people to embrace it and thereby achieving the objective of destroying humanity from within. In reality, Marx's communist ideology represents a contemporary rendition of Satan's demonic doctrine, veiled in the guise of communism to obscure people's perception. It persuades individuals to forsake God, indulge in their desires by sacrificing their souls, ultimately plunging humanity into hell, its ultimate purpose. For more than a century, communist heresy has inflicted immense suffering and turmoil upon humanity, with the Chinese Communist Party serving as a devout practitioner of Satan's doctrine. It seeks to obliterate the glorious civilization of the Chinese nation spanning 5,000 years, promoting atheism to dismantle all forms of belief and plunging China into chaos for nearly a century. Richard Wurmbrand, born on March 24, 1909, and deceased on February 17, 2001, was a Romanian Christian pastor and author. Due to his leadership in underground church activities, he was incarcerated and subjected to torture by the Romanian Communist Party in 1948. Released in 1964, he subsequently went into exile and settled in the United States. He authored 18 English works, including Marx and Satan and Tortured for Christ. Due to the CCP's prolonged indoctrination of atheism, many Chinese individuals have come to reject the concept of karma, or the idea that good and evil actions will be met with corresponding consequences. Yet, for those aligned with or part of the CCP, it is believed that the divine will enact retribution through various means, including illness and widespread diseases. Following the resurgence of COVID-19 across mainland China in December 2022, a significant number of CCP affiliates, including party members, government officials, and various professionals and celebrities who have shown support for the CCP, have succumbed to the disease in substantial numbers. On January 16, 2023, the Epoch Times website released an article titled Falun Gong Founder, CCP Covers Up Pandemic, Death Toll in China Reaches 400 Million. In this article, Mr. Li Hongzhi, the founder of Falun Dafa, disclosed that the CCP has concealed the true extent of the pandemic for more than 3 years, leading to 400 million deaths in China from the virus. He predicted that the death toll would rise to 500 million by the end of this pandemic wave. It's noteworthy that up to now, the CCP has remained completely silent on this statement by Mr. Li Hongzhi, a stark contrast to their usual immediate rebuttals and criticisms. Tiananmen area property prices plummet by 40%, shocking Beijing residents. The undeniable downturn in China's real estate market has startled many, including a Beijing homeowner who was shocked by the steep drop in housing prices over the last year. Blue Cat's Beautiful Nest, a Beijing social media figure, recounted selling her Fengtai property to purchase a smaller apartment in Fangshan, only to find the market drastically changed a year later. Prices in her former district plummeted by 200,000 yuan, about $28,183, and even premium properties like those by Fangshan nearly $1 million yuan wiped off their value, nearly $140,917. She expressed disbelief at how rapidly prices fell, despite government efforts to stabilize the market through reduced down payments, interest rates, and fees, along with regulatory adjustments. The failure of these interventions to halt the market slide has left many questioning their effectiveness. On February 20th, the People's Bank of China slashed the 5-year LPR by 25 basis points to 3.95%, loosening mortgage rates significantly in major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. Blue Cat's Beautiful Nest observed that this unexpected rate cut, which brought Beijing's first home mortgage rates below 4%, didn't draw buyers as anticipated. Instead, it ignited sellers' enthusiasm. Post-Chinese New Year, Beijing's second-hand housing listings soared, breaking records with over 140,000 listings, rumored to have climbed beyond 170,000. Despite the rush to sell, buyers were scarce. The anticipated market uptick turned into a downturn, prompting sellers to cut prices in desperation. A house-selling assassin emerged. After New Year's, Beijing's Ziluan community made headlines for its proximity to major landmarks and for a recent sale at a significantly reduced price. A 3-bedroom unit sold for 37,000 yuan, about $5,214 per square meter, slashing the community's average price by 40% from its 2021 peak. Blue Cat's Beautiful Nest observes that this reflects a dramatic shift in Beijing's housing market dynamics, where sellers eager to upgrade are facing a dearth of buyers, partly due to the city's efforts to reduce lower-income residents. Epoch Times journalists found that on March 1st, Sohu.com published an article titled "Crazy Price Cutting, Beijing's Real Estate Market Stunned." According to search engine snapshots, the article emphasized that the most noteworthy development in Beijing's property market was the fall in the latest transaction price in the Ziluan area, situated near Tiananmen Square and the Temple of Heaven Park, to 36,000 yuan, about $5,000 per square meter. The article has been deleted since then. Daily Economic News shared a seller's tale of dwindling interest and tough negotiations, embodying the current buyer's market where potential buyers, flush with cash, are biding their time for bargains. A homeowner, listing his property for over 8 million yuan, about $1.1 million, experienced lowball offers and learned of neighbors urgently selling for much less due to abroad relocation needs. China planted mystery devices on cranes used in U.S. ports, could seize control remotely. Senior Republicans from various House committees are raising concerns over suspicious devices found in container cranes at major U.S. ports, pointing fingers at China for potential espionage. These devices, identified as cellular modems of unknown purpose, were discovered within ship-to-shore cranes produced by Shanghai Zhenhua Heavy Industries, ZPMC, a branch of the state-controlled China Communications Construction Company, located near China's premier shipyard, a hub for military and intelligence activities. The discovery, part of a broader congressional probe into Chinese-manufactured cranes at U.S. ports, has sparked fears of cyber espionage and potential sabotage within the U.S. maritime infrastructure. Lawmakers have formally questioned ZPMC about these modems, which do not align with any operational or contractual needs of the maritime infrastructure. The U.S. Coast Guard has revealed that over 200 Chinese-made cranes are in operation across American ports, intensifying concerns over national security. Revelations of Chinese malware in critical port infrastructure and the possibility of remote control over these cranes underscore the urgency of the situation. The White House has acknowledged the vulnerability of these cranes to remote exploitation, suggesting a significant risk of compromise by Beijing. Experts warned that these cranes could be utilized by China's global cybercrime network to disrupt U.S. logistics, particularly in scenarios like an invasion of Taiwan. Retired Army Colonel John Mills said that those container cranes are not cranes. They're IP endpoints on a worldwide intelligence collection system. Furthermore, the crane's operational and safety features could likely be overridden remotely. This would allow Beijing to potentially trick one of the giant cranes into shifting its counterbalance in such a way that would cause it to crash into ships or containers in the nation's busiest ports. Complicating the issue all the more, he said, was the fact that the niche nature of the cargo cranes and their programming means it is unlikely a tailored cyber response to secure the systems will be created anytime soon. According to Mr. Mills, to counter the threat in the long term, the United States would need to ensure that it manufactured such vital equipment in its own territory. He said, as things play out, they're, Beijing, going to start initiating the hitting of target sets in cyber. The port cranes are a perfect example. Let us know your thoughts on today's topic by leaving a comment below. If you found this video helpful, please share it with a friend. It inspires us to continue creating more quality and reliable content. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting insights from China Truths. Thanks for tuning in.